Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle Chambers. This is KC Sports Talk, and I'm here today to talk about the Toronto International Tournament of Martial Arts Champions 2021 virtual event with Team Mitchell member Jackson Rudolph. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again, Jackson.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to come on your show, man. And we always have a great time, whether we're talking karate or talking sports or this time talking about the Toronto Tournament of Champions. So thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on. So I want to get into the 2021 International Tournament of Martial Arts Champions. And you're one of the instructors at the event. So maybe talk about how excited you are to be an instructor at the virtual event and maybe some great stories that you have being in person. I know this year it is virtual for the second in a row because of the pandemic, but you've had several experiences at the tournament in the past, seeing it grow in person. So maybe talk about some of the great stories of you being there as well.
For sure. I'll start by saying that I think that virtual tournaments are a great tool right now. We're kind of in this weird in-between phase where we're kind of back from COVID, but not quite yet. I know that just recently there was a new variant that was announced, which is no fun. But we're in this kind of transitional phase where we're getting out of it, and there are some in-person tournaments happening. But there's a lot of people, especially international competitors, that still aren't able to make it to the United States to some of these bigger tournaments. And we've got the AKA Warrior Cup right around the corner. So I think that the Toronto Tournament of Champions being virtual gives competitors everywhere, regardless of their situation, a great opportunity to test their skills and get some practice reps in. Amongst my students, I call them pressure reps, right? Those are reps that you do under pressure. When you're filming for a tournament, obviously that pressure is intensified when you're doing it live, whether it's a live stream or whether you're actually in person at a tournament. But if you're recording to submit it to a NASKA event like the Toronto Tournament of Champions, there's still a level of pressure associated with that. And those can be really good, high quality reps for your training. You can even test some things out that you're maybe trying to get ready for the upcoming NASKA season when we'll hopefully get the Tournament of Champions back in person again. So using a virtual tournament like we've got this year with Toronto is an excellent opportunity that I think that all serious competitors should take advantage of. And it's not every day that pre-registering for an event gets you free seminars with so many world champions. You know, I'm honored to be a part of that list, and I've taught for Mr. Palitti in this tournament for many years now, I think going all the way back to 2014 or something like that. But there's other world champions that I'll be teaching with as well. I know Jarrett Leiker always gets a very big crowd at his seminars whenever we're doing it there in person. Fellow bow practitioner and Jarrett's wife, Becca Ross, now Becca Ross Leiker is going to be teaching as well. So some really high caliber world champions, and I know there's others. You've got the whole list, Kyle, so you can share some more. But those are just two off the top of my head. I think Mason Stowell maybe as well is one of Jarrett's students. I'm a huge Mason Stowell fan, by the way. We might get into that some in the podcast. Anybody that listens to my podcast knows that I'm a big Mason Stowell fan, but I'm sure we'll get to that. He's teaching as well. But anyway, the opportunity to train with so many high caliber competitors is really special, and it's unique to Toronto. I think that in one of my promotional post about the event, I think I said like Mike Palitti's signature seminars or something like that, because truly there is no other event that offers this level of instruction that comes literally free with your pre-registration. If you're an aspiring young competitor and you're trying to sharpen your skills regardless of what divisions you compete in, I think that registering for Toronto is an excellent tool to use that instruction, because that's not an opportunity that you get every day.
Absolutely.
I'll address what you said about some of the great stories over the years. One thing that always impressed me about coming to Mr. Palitti's event, because he started having me and some other instructors out before it was ever, a big NASKA tournament, when he was just kind of doing his own thing. And the professionalism was there from day one, even when it was, smaller venues or whatever the case may be. Before there was the NASKA sanctioning, he always ran a world-class event. Always had judges manning the rings. Everything always ran smoothly. A lot of the tournaments you find yourself, hurry up and waiting for something to happen, right? But I feel like Toronto's always run very smoothly when it's happened in person, and that's a credit to Mr. Palitti and his staff that have been running the event. And so it was the perfect transition for it to become a NASKA event. And one thing that I always tell people is, if you want to attract some of the top talent in the sport, you need to bring a little bit of the top talent, right? Because any world champion is going to want to go and compete against the other people who are the best, right? If you don't have some of the best competitors at your event, well, then the other best competitors don't really have a reason to go, right? If I'm going to compete at an event, it's because I want to compete against some of the best in the world. So what Mr. Palitti has done by bringing in some of these world champions who also compete at the event is that's going to inspire others to be like, wait, I want a chance to compete against them. I want to see if, if I can beat them or what I can learn from them or whatever the case may be. I always think that having a good talent pool at your event is going to attract other talent because talented competitors want to beat other talented competitors. That's how it is, right? A great competitor should not want to hide from the best, right? You should want to compete against the best, regardless of if you're ready to try to beat them or not. You should have the experience of trying to compete against them because there's a lot that can be learned from being in that environment. So I would say that the most impressive thing is that from the first time I came to the event, even before it was the NASKA event, the level of talent that was there, and then that level of talent has increased every year since I've been there, which I think is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen even over the last couple of years how it's progressed, and some of the great talent that has been in the seminars and have shown up and really. There's a lot of great talent that is grown throughout a year virtually in the pandemic, and then they're ready for the Toronto Tournament of Champions, and they go and they're really excited for that tournament. And in the NASKA circuit, I believe that's the last tournament of the year in the NASKA circuit. So that's the last tournament, and then it's the off season. So everyone wants to give it their all for that tournament as well, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the most important time periods in our sport is the off season, right? And technically we're in the in-person off season right now, once we finished up Pan Ams and now we're getting ready for Chicago. So Toronto, the virtual version of Toronto comes at the perfect time to be able to sharpen those skills and get everything ready. And, a lot of the judges that you get, even at NASKA virtual events, as we saw earlier in the pandemic, and then now with the Toronto Tournament of Champions, I mean, you're getting NASKA promoters that are volunteering their time to do some of the judging. You're getting some NASKA world champions that are volunteering their time to do some of the judging. So it's not like you're just getting random people off the street who are looking at their computer and giving scores. No, you're getting real legitimate judging from these virtual events. And you can use that to kind of make decisions about what you need to change about your routine going into the new season.
I'm proud I will be judging in this event. This will be my first NASKA virtual event I'll be judging in. I've judged in the sportmartialarts.com SMA virtual tour several times. So this will be my first NASKA tournament I'm judging, and Mr. Palitti asked me to do it. So I'm really excited to see some of the great talent that comes out to this great virtual tournament, which would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. And congratulations to you. That'll be a lot of fun to be judging it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really hoping that in the next year or two that we can all see each other in person and we can all have a great time at the Toronto International Tournament of Champions. And I know that when I was talking to Michael about the Toronto tournament a few days back, he was saying how he brings in a lot of international talent and a lot of international people to the tournament. So it's a really great meeting spot, as he said. So hopefully we're able to do that again in the future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's nothing better than tournaments that have international participation, because that's one of the common criticisms of our sport nowadays is that, we have all these world champions that have never left the United States or never left their home country, right? So when you do have an event in which you truly get international participation, like the Toronto Tournament of Champions, and there's other events that get that level of international participation as well, when you get that, that's a great opportunity to truly compete against other nations and say, like, hey, I've competed against some of the best in the world, not just the best in this league or in this country or whatever. That's a unique opportunity, and I'm glad that Mr. Palitti makes that a priority of his.
Absolutely. So I will go through the list of seminars for this great event. So we have point fighting seminar. We have Mariana Cortés. Mm-hmm. Another point fighting seminar. We have Nico Campagna. Another we have a bow staff seminar by the one and only Julian Shamuon. He's a Team NMAT member and has been on Michael's team for several years. He's a phenomenal competitor. Recently retired competitor. He's a great competitor. And we have Robbie Lavoie. He's doing a point fighting seminar. He's a great point fighter on Team Devorez from Ottawa.
All-time great point fighter.
And he just competed at the virtual fight tour recently too, correct?
Yeah, he did. Had a great fight against James Poor. One of those matches that could have gone either way, depending on what calls you saw. But yeah, I mean, Robbie, he's one of my top lightweights of all time. In fact, I'm trying to think, he's probably the greatest super lightweight of all time. Yeah, I mean, Robbie's a legend.
And then you have yourself on Saturday. Maybe talk about more about what time you're going to be doing your seminar on Saturday as well.
Yeah, so I've got a seminar. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern time coming up this Saturday. So it's a great time, like right there in the middle of the day. You know, you can sleep in a little bit on Saturday if you want to, and then come tune in to the bow seminar. And I'm excited about it. You know, we're going to be starting with the foundational skills for anybody that might be a little bit newer to bow, trying to get their first exposure to it. But since this is, you know, a seminar that comes with registration, I know that a lot of attendees are probably already going to have some bow experience, might even already be really good at bow. So we are going to focus a little bit more on the tricks and some of the more creative stuff. We'll do some of my signature moves. We'll mix it up a little bit. I know there's other bow seminars going on as well. I imagine Julian's will probably be more traditional based because I know he's a great traditionalist. And then Becca is known for her strikes as well. So I know that Becca will probably be doing a lot of great foundational skills. And then she comes from the same lineage that I do of Mike Bernardo to Casey Marks to Lauren Carney. And then it goes to Becca and myself. I trained under Lauren, and I know Becca at one point did too. So Becca will probably bring in some of those signature manipulations that are known for that kind of bow lineage that really were popularized by Casey. Casey was one of the first ones to really do a lot of the complex manipulations mixed in with her striking. And I know that Becca has that in her style as well. And so with me, we're going to do a lot more releases. We'll be, you know, throwing bows around a lot, going into some of my secrets about how I throw the bow, how I make it faster, how I catch it more consistently. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, if you're a bow person, I think that there's something that you can gain out of all three of those seminars, whether you're going for the foundational skills, a little bit of a mix of the foundational skills and the manipulations, finding ways to take that to the next level, or if you just want to throw your bow around and do a whole bunch of crazy tricks, I think that would be something for everybody.
Awesome. I do want to say that Jackson is a great presenter of the bow. I've been to a few of his seminars. He's really good at breaking down all the different movements that the top guys do and breaking it down to a basic level so the people that are starting in the bow staff can also do it as well. I do want to mention some of the great seminars we have. We've mentioned Mason Stowell and Jarrett Leiker and Becca Ross Leiker. There's also Hdz Hernandez. She's from Mexico. She's a Team NMAC member, Team NMAC captain in Mexico. She's on Mr. Palitti's team as well. And we also have Tommy LeDuc. He's doing a creative forms, open form seminar. He's a phenomenal athlete as well. I really urge you guys go and do that as well. He is bilingual, so for anyone who speaks French, he speaks fluent French and he is French, so he can speak in both languages. So it's a really great opportunity there for people of both languages to come and enjoy his seminar as well. And those are all the great seminars that are available for the Toronto Tournament of Champions. The schedule is Saturday and Sunday, so it will be posted in the description to this podcast episode, so check that out above. And it's going to be really, really exciting, and I'm really excited for this. Registration closes Friday at about 1 p.m. And then after that, the Grand Championships will start on Saturday evening. And if you have already submitted a video, that will be used for your Grand Championship for that division. Anyone who is in the Grand Championship to qualify, they have to be first place in a black belt division, and then it goes up to the Grand Championships. Any points for this tournament will go towards the NASKA Virtual Tour. So there's several tournaments that went on throughout the NASKA virtual season. This is the last one of the year, so you can actually get points and put that towards the NASKA virtual year as well, which is also very exciting. This tournament is video submission run through Eventex, and that's really exciting as well. So I'm really excited for this event. And yeah, so maybe talk about the year you started at Toronto Tournament of Champions and how excited you were as a kid to start at that tournament as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to say it was 2014 or 15. So I would have still been in the 14 to 17 division. I kind of made a name for myself, which is why Mr. Palitti had me out to teach a seminar there. I would have already been on Team Paul Mitchell. So I've been around the block a few times at that point as a competitor, to say the least. And so, yeah, it was one of those things where, as a competitor who's been around the block a few times, you're always looking for a new experience, right? You're always looking for a new challenge, a new arena to compete in. And so anytime you get to go to a new event for the first time, it's really exciting. And I remember feeling the same way about going and competing in Toronto. It was a city that I'd never been to. And whenever you go to a new city, you're going to get new judges that you've never seen before, and you want to try to impress them, right? And then, of course, at the stage in my career that I was in at that point, and even today, a lot of the times when I'm going out there to compete, I'm not really competing for the judges or for whatever award that it is. I'm competing for those who came to spectate. I'm competing for, that little kid who it's their first karate tournament. And they want somebody to look up to, that they can try to train and become one day, right? The people who just love martial arts, and so they got a spectator pass to come and watch the tournament. That is really, those are the people that I am competing for at this stage in my career, and that's how it's been when I've come and competed in Toronto. And sure, winning is cool. Of course, you always want to win, but at the end of the day, it's about the show that you put on. And so with Toronto, historically kind of being at the end of the year, I've typically used that tournament to throw in a couple of little extra folds, maybe try some tricks that I didn't try earlier in the year that I just didn't have a chance to use. Or I know that some years I've competed in a point fighting uniform for the weapons divisions because I think they look cool. Because Paul Mitchell, our fighting team, they get new uniforms from Century. Shout out Century Martial Arts. We get new uniforms from Century every year. So I always like having an excuse to put on the new fighting uniform without fighting, by just doing my bow form. And so sometimes I've used Toronto as an opportunity to show that uniform off a little bit. So yeah, lots of great memories from that tournament, and really just always trying to put on a show and maybe try something new here or there.
That's awesome. There have been many great martial artists that have made their name for themselves at the Toronto Tournament of Champions. People like Jacob Parisi in traditional weapons, traditional kata, on Team NMAC. Even have people like Solange Olivier. She won her first NASKA World Championship at the Toronto Tournament of Champions on Team AKA. There's people like Danny Aiken, who has also made a name for himself. And you have Julian Shamuon on Team NMAC, who's made a name for himself. So there's a lot of really great athletes that have made their career go in an upward trajectory at the Toronto Tournament of Champions and really taken advantage of that opportunity. So compete at the Toronto Tournament of Champions and become the next champion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Especially right there at the end of the year, sometimes you get some big name competitors that may or may not show up because they've already got their world championships locked in or whatever. And so it's a great opportunity for competitors that are just about to get that breakthrough to show up and try to take it all the way, right? And so there's several tournaments that are great spots for competitors to try to make those breakthroughs. And Solange's win was a great example of that. And at the same time, you also get competitors who have had a history and already have made a name for themselves and then continue that, like a Danny Etkin, who's won the U.S. Open and has won Warrior Cups and won, the Diamond Nationals and all that. And you get guys like him and myself that come to Toronto and, try to win the whole thing there as well. So you get a really good mix. And that's one of the things I love about Toronto is you get that mix of, these competitors that have already made a name for themselves and they're up on the big stage. And then you also get the competitors that are trying to, make that breakthrough and have their big first moment.
Absolutely. My most favorite moment watching at the 2019 Toronto International Tournament of Champions, I was watching on Facebook Live. I remember watching the Trad Challenge, and the Trad Challenge is something that Michael Palitti takes a lot of pride in. He basically has different brackets, and then at the top of the bracket, you have male and female. The best male and the best female who are 18 and over compete in the finals. And I think it was Joey Castro in the male of Team K-Talk versus Rose Rayum of Team NMAC. They're on stage against each other, and Joey Castro won, I think. But it was a really phenomenal thing to watch, two top-end karate competitors going at it. And I always love to see great kata competitors that have love for traditional kata. So it's great to see that traditional kata is really making a name for itself in the sport karate as well.
Absolutely. Traditional kata has gotten huge within sport karate. You rewind back to when I started sport karate, the most popular forms were the hybrid kind of open traditional forms where people were doing super low stances and 100 kiais per form. And then I give a lot of credit to Jarrett Leiker for kind of being the guy who came out with the more traditional WKF style, true traditional Japanese katas. He was prolific with his Super Impei and, won multiple titles with that. I think he won all of the big three with it, the Warrior Cup, a US Open, and a Diamond Ring before he, retired and rode off into the sunset. And really, he was the guy that started that revolution on the NASKA circuit of that being the predominant style of Japanese form that winds up winning. I think there's a place for both. I think that the NASKA circuit probably should have two separate divisions, the Japanese Okinawan division for the WKF forms, and drop the Chad Challenge name because they're essentially the same thing, right? And then also have an open traditional division where competitors that are used to more of an open style traditional form feel welcome to compete as well. And then seeing those two styles go against each other. When Jarrett was kind of first starting his run and Will Cornell was kind of towards the end of his career, Will Cornell known as more the open style traditional guy, there were some great battles that the two of them had, of a great open traditional forms competitor against a great WKF style traditional forms competitor. And those are matchups that I really like to see those styles kind of go to battle with each other and see who the judges prefer that night. I think that's a lot of entertainment as well. So absolutely, the true traditional kata done the WKF style has certainly made its presence known on the NASKA circuit. Really nobody more dominant in recent years than Ariel Torres. And then obviously Joey Castro challenging him. And then now we've got Mason Stowell, who's been pretty dominant so far this year in that division, winning the US Open on stage, winning the overall title at the Battle of Atlanta. So it really is cool to see traditional forms being so prominent. And then, of course, shout out to my beautiful fiance, Gabrielle Dunn, for being on stage all the time and winning with her Japanese traditional form as well. She trains with Robert Young down in Miami, who's one of the top coaches in the game for the WKF style forms. And I'm super proud of her and how far she's come too.
Absolutely. Before the pandemic and the 2020 AK Warrior Cup, I'm kind of a stat nerd and I follow this stuff as you do as well. I love the sport. Anyway, the top three female competitors traditional kata back in 2020, the AK Warrior Cup, were Rose Rayum, who is a WKF style, more than the WKF style competitor because she competes at WKF tournaments and competes at WKF World Championships. And then you have Gabrielle Dunn, who has competed in the WKF and she does the Korean style and more open style. Then you have Mary Amato, who's completely different style, really more the open style with Sensei John Sharkey, but a lot of three really great styles, and it's great how they present themselves and great intensity from all three of them, but three completely different ways of doing it. But it's really great to see the skill that those three ladies show within their forms.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure. I enjoy, sitting down and talking shop for a little bit. There's nothing I love more than sport karate. So anytime that I have a chance to talk about it, I love sitting down and having a chance to do it. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This has been KC Sports Talk, the podcast with Kyle Chambers.